Good morning. Welcome to First Congregational Church in Guilford, Connecticut on an incredibly beautiful summer day. So in the summertime here, our schedules can still be busy, but there's a different kind of energy and a little bit of a release. And so in this sort of spirit of respite, our Minister of Christian Education, Diana Harris, and I are sitting here. We're going to just have a conversation about the scripture for today. It is from the Gospel of Matthew. Now, one thing to know about Diana and me is that we are both dancers. Diana is still a dancer and teaches dance and does a beautiful job, has helped choreograph some of our pieces here at church. And in Godspell, our scripture today is always highlighted. So if you've ever seen Godspell, you may know the text. Matthew says that you are the light of the world. And do not hide your light under a bushel or on a hill. Allow your light to shine. That's the basic premise of this text. Now, before we go on to that, I'm going to let you think about that for a moment, please. Invite you to come into that. What does that mean to allow that inner illumination and sparkle, your faith, to be something that shines out into the world? It doesn't dominate or press down, but shines out into the world. As you ponder that, please join us in rolling our shoulders back and opening hands and hearts and minds, taking a deep breath in, breathing in the breath of God, and breathing out the love of God as we continue in this time of reflection. Now, Diana and I teach confirmation class together, and we have a wonderful time because we play off of each other, and Diana has the best icebreakers, if you will, the questions that she asked. Now, Diana, if you were thinking about this text today, what might be something that you would ask people as they think about how they let the joy of Christ come out in their lives, particularly because we live in such a difficult world with so many things going on? How do we find that inner hope, that beam of joy, that illumination?
I think we have to encourage people to think about what are they most passionate about, right? What do they feel strongest about? And how can they let others see it without necessarily lecturing about it, right? Not talking at people but just through action, right? Find what you're passionate about in your beliefs, and how can you demonstrate that?
And offer that to the world. Now, for you at home, whether you're, I don't know if you're outside walking and listening, or if you're in your garden, like we're in the memorial garden, or at your kitchen table or on a couch, what is your passion? How does your faith come to fruition? What do you see as showing the love of Christ out in the world, allowing it to shine? And these can sound like very simple questions. In fact, they're very difficult. You know, I do love, several people have given me the same inscription on different items. It's never let anybody dull your sparkle. What does that mean for me personally? Now, I know that when life for me gets very hard, I tend to withdraw some. And so then I have to reset and come back into life. And I'm listening to a lot of people right now who are going through chronic illnesses. We've had 15 people die since April. We're sitting in our memorial garden surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses who've shown us how to live and allow their light to shine. But some, they've gone way too early, and we lament and miss them. And those who have gone at 95, we lament and miss the experience and wisdom and the light they continue to give us. So as we think about how difficult things are with injuries, with abilities that shift and change and diminish, losing people, how do you then think we assist people in finding hope and joy without being preachy, teachy, directive?
So God is always there somewhere. I can remember when the horrible shooting occurred in Newtown, somebody posting, "Where was God?" And God was there. He was there with the EMTs. He was there with the teachers that protected their students. He was there. So sometimes you have to take a step back and look at where God is. So when people are going through times like that, it doesn't have to be anything monumental, right? It's a note. It's, hey, do you want to take a walk? It's a quick phone call. It's, hey, just dropped off chocolate chip cookies on your porch. Or there's a bouquet of flowers on your porch. I mean, we were the grateful benefactors of so much of that from members of our community last year when Mark had his kidney transplant. And nothing meant more than driving in and maybe seeing a vase of flowers on the porch, just knowing somebody had thought of me, right? And that's where God is in all that. It's, if you feel the need to do something, do it.
So the sharing aspect of it. And we recently had one from our church who died, and it was so tragic and fast. But one of the things for him was he was a huge believer in organ donation. He was part of a special needs community here and made sure that if he died, or when he died, anything they could use, organs were donated. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as he died, people lined the hall, and as they brought him out of the room, we watched them take him straight into the OR, knowing that he was sharing his sparkle, his illumination, his joy of what life was and what it could be for others. We don't know how many people received all those organs. And then Diana's husband, Mark, getting a kidney transplant that was just amazing. So there are these really earthy, concrete ways that we allow the sparkle, the joy, the hope, the light of Christ to shine in us. And you'll notice we try to stay away from the word light because it's filled with conversation other ways about race. And a lighter skin color is not a better skin color, it's just a different skin color. So the light that we are talking about is the illumination and joy inside. And I do think that we have to continue being so practiced at that, particularly right now when we've had 15 young Black people found hanging from trees. And, you know, we have this conversation, but truly, Black people don't hang themselves from trees. And this is something that we as a people need to make that our inner illumination is shining the spotlight on that as we remember how to share what we can with one another and stand up and be anti-racist in the world. You see how much this happy little scripture brings into the conversation. And sometimes I think we diminish that. We absolutely think that we have to reflect in different ways for it to be meaningful. No, this is meaningful. And to watch people who encounter such oppression and prejudice in the world find their joy, or I don't know if you know the statistic, but the poorest states are generally the ones who give the most to charities and other organizations because they know what it's like to be in need. And truly, we're all people in need. So how do we help share that information with others?
That's not always easy, right?
This is what I want you to do too, is to think. Before we came out, one of the things that we were talking about before coming out into the garden was these kinds of reflections are much harder than a straight lecture, a direct lecture, or waxing, philosophically about our theologies. Our hope is when it's warm outside and pleasant, and we have a few minutes, we have room to think, to allow our minds to wonder. Like, when we have, today for me is an interesting day. It's the anniversary of two adolescents in my life from two different communities that were 16 that both died on this day several years apart. It's been many years, but I never forget this day because they brought joy and happiness and depth and meaning to the lives of so many. And their names were very similar. And I was in two different congregations when this happened and was part of this journey with people. And so this date always rests in my spirit in a different way.
Well, and 22 years ago today, my dad passed away. So he's the one that instilled that spark in me, and he would always say to me, at the end of the day, if you can go to bed knowing you have done what is right in your heart and you have done something kind for somebody else, you don't need to worry about anything else.
Well, may that be our word today. As you sit and ponder what your passion is, what your spark is, how you can find joy even amidst the situations in which we find ourselves. And I'm not saying be happy when you're miserable. Please don't hear that. Just spend time finding something that can keep your hope and your faith part of your journey, whatever the journey is.
Because there's always something to be grateful for, no matter what.
Yes.
You just have to look a little harder sometimes. But it's there.
Sometimes you have to dig. You have to dig to find what it is. But yes, we'll find it, and we see examples of it. So maybe when we can't find it, let's look for the examples of it through others, through movies in which you see people in crisis and true stories, and they find their way out, and there's something. So whatever that something is for you today, dear congregation, may you find it. Peace be with you.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the town, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the town,